Welcome to an update on the Nelson Wastewater Treatment Facility Improvements Project. This is a virtual recording for the website following the open house that we had on March 22nd, 2024. Next. So this is the third open house informational session that we've had with the public. Information on the previous two open houses can be found through videos on the website. Those were held in September of 2021 and October of 2022. And again, those videos are on the website, so we're going to skip over a lot of the background information for the purposes of brevity on this video. So in the last year, what has been happening, the force main that which is the pipe that carries flow to the facility under Fox Ridge Drive, was completed in the spring of 2023, working with the city and our partners to make that happen, the City of Mission. We also completed final design in the fall of 2023, so the design for the project is complete. The Board of County Commissioners awarded the construction contract to McCarthy Building Companies in December of 2023. At that time, we also secured our second low-interest loan through the State Revolving Fund in the winter of 2023, which allows us to save, with all of the low-interest loans, approximately $133 million in financing costs for the project due to the leveraging of those low-interest loans. So the second one of that was secured in the winter of 2023. And we've also updated the site address to be off of Fox Ridge Drive. Since the facility's construction in the 40s, it had an address of 4800 Knoll. However, the address has been moved to Fox Ridge Drive to better serve the construction entrance and to try to remove traffic from the residential neighborhood. A little bit about the project drivers for the project. The first is aging infrastructure. So this facility was first placed into service right after the Second World War as the population started to spill out from Kansas City over into Johnson County. So this facility was constructed in the late 1940s. Some of those facilities are actually still in service, and so we have a need to renew that infrastructure, which is 75 years old in some places. Also, compliance with regulatory requirements. So we'll have a new permit coming out from the state that requires lower ammonia and nutrient effluent to be discharged to Turkey Creek. And so the current technologies that are at this facility can't meet those limits. So we need to upgrade our infrastructure to meet those current nutrient limits as well. So good time with needing to upgrade for limits as well as aging infrastructure to do a big project here. We also have wet weather system capacity that will be upgraded as part of this project as well. As our system continues to age, we have high flows that come into the plant during wet weather events, and we need to be able to accommodate that as well. Go next. So I just wanted to start off with a flyover video of the final design. This is looking off of the new entrance along Fox Ridge Drive, the gates on the lower left, and the main entrance to the plant in a similar location to where it has been historically. As we fly over, we see the hillside and the lower treatment facility. We see that we've tried to maximize the green space between the wastewater facilities in the neighborhood to the south. The big tanks there are our digestion complex, and the basins you see here that are in the rectangles are the biological nutrient removal basins. That's the new technology that will allow us to meet our new permit limits. The two circles up at the top, now swinging around to the bottom, are the primary clarifiers. Those are odor controlled. That's why they have the covers on them. The three final clarifiers you see at the end, that's with the more polished wastewater, which doesn't generate odor. So those are uncovered. As we go along Knoll here, you'll see that we've installed at the end of the project a decorative wrought iron fence. We have constructed a berm, or will construct a berm there, and we'll place vegetation on that berm as well to serve as kind of a screen to the plant. The rendering is showing trees as they will look when they're planted, not as when they're mature. So this will be like 2029, say, when the project is complete, but the vegetation is new. And we'll also plant grasses to kind of fill in the gaps as the trees mature. This is now looking along 49th Street, looking north to the facility. And then we will zoom back up. And again, this kind of shows the buffering of the facility with the administration facilities and green space to provide a little more distance between the wastewater facilities and the neighborhoods to the south and west. So we mentioned some of the design aspects of the facility. Again, obviously, we're doing this for water quality, but there's a lot of things that we wanted to consider when constructing this facility, including an opportunity to be good neighbors in the community. So upgrading of odor control, upgrading the appearance, the berms, the look of the facility, adding green space, and then minimizing noise and light pollution and things like that. We'll talk more about that as in the coming slides. So the first item we want to talk about is odor control. So historically, the technology that's been employed to treat flow at the facility has relied on trickling filter technology, which have been periodically a source of odor. So that will be removed and replaced with the biological nutrient removal basins that we saw in the video. And you can see that the sources of odor are going to be controlled with new technologies, granular activated carbon filtration systems at the new facility. And we've also consolidated those facilities and buffered the neighborhoods with administration buildings to the south and green space as well around the facility. As shown in the video, we have berms that we've constructed with, or that we will construct at the conclusion of the project with vegetation on top. The photos you see are, so like the top photo is the view right now that you see of the facility. The second one is the previous renderings that we showed at previous public workshops. And the last one is the rendering as it stands today. So the biggest changes is the addition of grasses, and we've raised the berm in some areas too, based on public feedback. So there's various photos from different spots along the facility. And if you want to pause the video and take a closer look at any of those, feel free to do that at this time. The next video, or the next photos, are what the site is proposed to look like at the conclusion of the project and what it will look like once the trees fill in and become more mature. So as the trees fill in, some of that blank space that you see now will be filled in. We can't put the trees too close together, otherwise they won't mature. And planting full-size trees doesn't give the trees a real good shot to live, because you have to match what's underground with what's above ground, and their root systems need to grow with the tree. So that's the reason we plant small trees, but you'll see over time that they do fill in and screen the site rather well. There's also going to be, as mentioned previously, new gates and fencing with the wrought iron style fence along Knoll and 49th Street. And then the native grasses on the lower right will also be planted to kind of supplement the trees as they grow. For lighting considerations, we're following the City of Mission's guidelines, which include the Dark Sky International guidelines. So there's 5 kind of tenets of the dark skies principle, which you can see there are: lighting should be useful, targeted, low level, controlled, and warm colored. So we have tried to implement that wherever possible. However, the facility does operate 24/7. We treat flow every hour of the day, and we have had to, or we have consulted with the Sheriff's Department as well, as this is an important facility for the public good, and there is some light required on the site. So we have tried to minimize it and disturb the area as little as possible, but there will be some light on the site. So what is happening now? By Fox Ridge Drive in the kind of top left corner, you can see that we're currently doing foundation work and excavation work for some future buildings. Our ultraviolet light disinfection facility, our filtration facility, and our headworks facility. In the middle of the building, we're constructing a solids holding facility. You can see that in orange. The blue on the right is the demolition of some of the old facility so that we can start to build new facilities. We have to do this project in stages as we continue to treat flow while we construct the new facility. Also, you may have noticed that over the I-35 and Lamar interchange, there are now traffic signals up. We'll talk more about that later, but the poles are up and we're awaiting power to bring those online, hopefully in the late spring of 2024. So recent and ongoing activity, some plant roads have been constructed. There's been demolition, as you can see, as we talked about before. We're doing site preparation and foundations for some of the future facilities. And then in the coming year of 2024, 2025, you'll start to see buildings coming out of the ground. So our UV filtration and filtration facilities will start to be constructed. The first phase of our administration building will be constructed, which you can see there in orange. You'll see demolition occurring at the top of the site to make way for the new facility, so demolition and excavation of that, as well as the digesters, which are precast concrete. So that area in the middle, those green circles, will start to be leveled for the construction of those digesters as well. This is a long project, primarily because the team has to continue to treat wastewater on site while we construct the new facility. So we can't just demolish the whole site and build from scratch. We have to do this in phases so that we can continue to serve the public and create the new facility. So we're currently in 2024, and some of those teal type colors are the areas we've talked about before with the UV filtration and filtration facilities, as well as some of the admin facilities. As you can see, as 2024 moves on and into 2025, there's more and more colored lines, meaning more and more things are being constructed, including the digesters and other things. This project will continue on through 2027 and into 2028 when we start to put a lot of these facilities into service, with substantial completion expected in the fall of 2029. At the very end of the project is when you'll see the berms and the landscaping come in. And the reason for that is we just can't disturb that vegetation once it's installed, and construction is it's difficult to do that in construction. So we'll be putting up the berms and so forth at the end of the project in late 2029. So what to expect during construction? Some of these things are already there. There's construction fencing already up. There's a trailer complex that's already been set along 49th Street. The parking is being developed along Fox Ridge Drive. That's for construction workers to park during construction because we have a very tight site here. In the spring of 2024, you'll notice there'll be a tower crane installed on the lower end of the site along Fox Ridge Drive. And that crane will be there until early 2026. And then in the summer of 2024, the tower crane in the middle of the site will go up. And tower cranes are being installed because they increase the efficiency of construction because they're not going around in mud and so forth if there's bad weather. But also they're good neighbors actually because they're electric, so they don't create a bunch of pollution. And they're actually pretty quiet because they're running on electricity. So there's a lot of benefits to putting tower cranes up on site. You'll see those come up in 2024. So it's a big construction project, and unfortunately, with construction comes dust and noise during construction. So There's a lot of areas that have to be excavated. There's a lot of rock on this site that will have to be broken up, and with that comes noise. So um, the the schedule below shows the areas of construction and when the most noise is expected to occur from rock breaking and so forth. There's also some noise from demolition of facilities, but that's fairly short-lived. Um, so in 2023 and 2024, phase one excavation is going on. That's going on right now. In 2025 and 2026, the upper site will be excavated, and then there'll be some demolition at the end of the project. But again, that will be rather short-lived. For dust and noise control, we are utilizing a water truck to try to water down areas to control dust. And we're also using street sweepers to try to keep the roads clean so that the construction traffic is not tracking debris onto the roadways. The hours of construction are set by the City of Mission. That's Monday through Saturday, generally 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., although Saturdays have reduced hours. And we are trying to abide by them. If we cannot, we are informing the city ahead of time so they can review and approve that if deemed acceptable. As mentioned before, we've coordinated roadway improvement project, or our pipeline, with the City of Mission's roadway improvement project. And we've also coordinated the addition of the stoplights over Lamar on I-35, to accommodate construction traffic, but also just as a general upgrade to the overall traveling public in that area. It's already a congested intersection, so we're trying to do our part to not make it worse and hopefully in the long term make it better for residents. We wanted to show this slide at the end because we realize it's a big project. It has a big impact on residents, especially residents near the facility. But this is a good environmental project for the county. Again, this facility serves 100,000 people approximately in Johnson County. And at the conclusion of this project, there are going to be significant reductions in ammonia, phosphorus, nitrogen, suspended solids, and oxygen depleting materials compared to the effluent that's being produced right now. Now, the effluent being produced right now meets our current permit, but with our future permit limits, those will be required to be reduced. So this project will have a significant impact on the effluent that we're putting out, which ultimately will impact the health of Turkey Creek, the Kansas River, which flows to the Missouri River, Mississippi River, and the Gulf of Mexico. So the environmental component to this project is significant, and it's important to remember why we're doing what we're doing and why we're going through such a large effort. Please continue to visit jcwnelson.com for updates on the project. We try to keep the project website up to date on what's going on the facility. You can submit questions. You can sign up to get notification emails. All those things can help you stay informed if you're interested. Also, I wanted to note that on March 25th, we will be going to the City of Mission Planning Commission for consideration of our final development plan for the project. That meeting is open to the